clients, but also if you're a leader and you have people in your team that you are traditionally, you just tell them what to do, you tell them what to do, but you want to try and shake it up and do something different and actually have your team members think for themselves, really think about, like what Linda just said then, what's the concept that you're trying to teach them? Are they aware that this concept exists? If they are, that's a different talking track. If they're unaware of it, you have to find the talking track to teach them in a way that they get there themselves.
Yeah.
Linda, you were talking about the hierarchy of competence before.
Okay.
So there's that unconscious competence,
Yes.
conscious competence, conscious incompetence, and unconscious incompetence.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, I've all met someone
should link
unconsciously incompetent.
When we were getting coached
Yeah.
on these principles, we were consciously
No,
incompetent.
I actually would argue and say we were unconsciously incompetent.
Yeah, maybe you start there actually.
Some of the stuff that we were
Right at the
taught,
beginning.
we had no idea. No
true.
idea. Like we didn't know how to be coaches.
True.
We had good intuition
Yeah.
and good energy.
So when
and
you start out, you're there.
Yeah.
But then throughout the coaching program, when we started to implement this stuff, that's when we became consciously incompetent.
Yeah, and then I would say now we're at like a conscious competence level. And then there's unconscious competence. Like you're just so good.
Yeah. And that's like people that we talk about all the time, like
Chris Ma. It's just like unconsciously competent.
Our goals.
Welcome to the Marketing Mentors podcast, brought to you by Red Pandas Digital. I am Tasha, joined by, of course, the one, the only Linda.
Hello.
That's all my energy. I'm done.
Okay.
Oh, nah. Very excited to be. I feel like it's been a while. It's only been 2 weeks, but
Yeah, true. You were with Mobes last week.
no, that was like
Weren't
a
you?
month ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's like
Jeez Christ.
yeah. It just feels like a lot's happened since our last recording.
Yeah.
All good things. We've hired a new digital marketing consultant at Red Pandas. We're coming into the office more.
True.
The sun's
Yep.
staying up longer, so it's a great
Is it?
time to be alive. Yeah, we've passed the shortest day of the year, so we're
nice.
heading into summer,
Oh, that's
which means the
good
days get
news.
longer. It is,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh.
I mean, I know we're heading into summer, obviously. We're not going backwards,
Linda,
but
like
great
really?
tea, the days are getting longer.
Yeah, it's only going to get warmer from here, my man. All right. Anyway, so back to what we're meant to be talking about today, and that is like got a bit of a clickbaity like thing for us today, and it's this idea of like how to get people to do what you want.
Mm.
Obviously, we're not talking about being manipulative and insincere here, but ideally, like what we want to talk about today is, Linda and I do a lot of work, different types of work for different types of clients, right? We've got some clients that are purely coaching clients, so we have to coach them only. We don't do any work for them other than coaching, showing up as their coach and coaching them.
Mm.
And then we have clients that we do like done for you style type of work.
Yeah, like your traditional retainers.
Yeah. So, but Linda and I both have a mix of those types of clients. And what we have really been nutting down on the last, 2 years
Yeah.
is like really finessing and fine tuning our coaching skills
Yeah.
and how we can coach our clients, so that they are thinking for themselves and solving their own problems and doing the things that not that we want them to do, but like helping them get there on their own.
Yeah. And also walking away with, for us anyway, walking away with no work to do,
Yeah.
which has been like maybe the biggest transition when we first started doing this, because a lot of coaches even still walk away and they have their own homework and actions to do. And so we coach in a way where we walk away with nothing to do.
Yeah.
And so what that then requires is it requires that client to have the mindset of like, I'm going to completely own all the next steps.
They have to.
Yeah. And that's quite difficult to get somebody into that position. And especially if you're just doing a lot of telling and telling them what to do.
Yeah.
We've found that when you're just telling someone to do something, there's not that intrinsic motivation for them to actually want to do it.
100%.
So the likelihood that they're going to turn up to the next call not having it done is quite high.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about today, about the fact that in these coaching calls, we're trying not to do a lot of telling, but we're trying to do a lot of questions and getting them to really own what they're doing and for them to feel like they're really owning what they're doing because they've come up with the solution and they understand the importance themselves. So that way they can go do the work.
Yep.
And then we don't have to do anything until the next call.
100%.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of work to get to that point. Like Linda and I are still working on that. We're practicing it. We're even talking about it today is part of our learning on that. So with that said, let's get into it.
Yeah.
A really good example, if this is where we're starting, is we have a client that, say one of your coaching clients, right? And they've come to you and they need, they want to send an email out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got subject lines. What was the example we were talking about earlier?
Yeah. So it can be that, or maybe like something even more broader and generic is, let's say that they're writing an article, right? It's a content writer, they're writing an article. And let's put them in the category of like the concept we're trying to teach right now, they're not currently aware of yet.
Okay.
They don't understand the importance of what we're about to teach them, and they're not aware of doing that in their current day-to-day process. So, you know, when you're coaching people,
it's a knowledge gap.
Yeah, there's a knowledge gap there.
Yeah.
And so when you're coaching people, they're either aware of the
thing.
Concept.
They know the thing, or they don't know the thing.
Yeah,
right?
or they're unaware.
Yeah.
And so it's two different lines of kind of questioning, like questioning tracks, if you will. So let's say that I'm trying to teach a content writer the importance of doing a litmus test and making sure that the topic that they're about to write about, that their subject matter expert has requested, is a good topic and it's worth their time.
Yeah.
Maybe previously they would get an article idea from a subject matter expert and they just go write it.
Yeah.
Without even questioning
no
whether
consideration
it was worth their time.
That's it. They just did it.
Yeah. So this is where you it's really good to raise that and say, like, today we're going to be talking about topics and deciding on whether it's right.
What we did before, Linda, we did that little mini role play.
Yeah.
Let's do that again. So I think when people hear this, it'll really cement what we mean by someone that doesn't know the thing.
Yeah.
Or is unaware.
Yeah. So we're talking about deciding on if the topic is right. And what we then might do is do what we call raising the stakes. And raising the stakes involves typically 3 elements, and it is importance, issue, impact.
Yeah.
And so, T, I might say to you, why is doing a litmus test on a topic important?
To make sure I'm writing about the right thing that people actually care about.
Yeah. And what's the issue if you don't do that? If you don't write about the right thing?
Lower engagement rates. People might not actually read the thing. It might not resonate with anyone.
And how does that ultimately impact you?
Well, I've got KPIs directly on, my content being written and shared. So if I don't hit those KPIs, then it might affect my pay bonuses.
Exactly. Yeah. So after that, you obviously want to get agreement.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're on the same page. But I didn't tell you just then. And a bad example would be, Tasha, you need to write, you need to do a litmus test on a topic, because if you don't, then you're going to write about the wrong thing. And then that's going to impact the company and ultimately your KPIs. By you coming up with those answers yourself, as opposed to me just telling you, it creates more of that intrinsic motivation and understanding.
Yeah.
And allows you to understand the importance of that, rather than me just telling you what it is.
And it works really beautifully for your clients, but also if you're a leader and you have people in your team that you just tell them what to do, but you want to try and shake it up and do something different and actually have your team members think for themselves, really think about, like what Linda just said then, what's the concept that you're trying to teach them? Are they aware? Are they aware that this concept exists? If they are, that's a different talking track. If they're unaware of it, you have to find the talking track to teach them.
Yeah.
In a way that they get there themselves.
Yeah.
It's so incredible how much this translates into teaching a child. If I look at Zoe, who's 3, right, and I want to teach her something for the first time ever, I know that she doesn't know how to tie her shoelaces, for example. So I have to do it in a way that she's going to do it herself, right? Ultimately, because I can't be there forever tying her shoelaces. But she needs to know how to tie the knot first. And so she has to practice that knot first. And there's just steps to it in a way. Maybe not shoelacing, not the best example, but nonetheless, it's just when I was at uni and we were being taught how to teach humans, right? People have what's called it's constructive knowledge. If you don't have the thing here, you can't build on top of it. So it's understanding that someone might not understand what a customer journey map is, first.
Yeah.
Then I can build upon that once I've established that.
Yeah, the foundations.
It's the foundation, right?
Yeah.
Once you know, okay, cool. This person doesn't realize why you have to litmus test topics for articles.
Yeah.
So I'm going to help them get there. Once they're there, then we can do more about how to do the right litmus testing, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Before the show, though, we were talking, and I don't think this like questioning style or leadership style is for everyone.
True.
I think there's people out there that won't want to be questioned like that.
Yeah.
And I can think of a few in our history of employment at Red Pandas that people didn't like that style of leadership.
Yeah.
And that just, in my opinion, it says a lot about just cultural things, morals.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's a mismatch in like being able to leave your ego at the door, for example, and being open to being vulnerable and being questioned on things to come up with it with yourself. Like some people don't want to have to do that. They think that
just tell
if they're
me.
paying for a service, just tell me.
Yeah.
Just give me their answer.
Yeah. I have had clients say before, Tasha, I don't need the coaching, just get it done.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
So these have been done for you. This is when some of my coaching stuff's backfired a little bit, and that's fine, right? Like I'm learning.
It happens, yeah.
I'm learning, and I was like, okay, cool. You're the type of person that I wouldn't want as a coaching client. I'm going to be honest.
Totally. Yeah.
Because you're not up for it, and that's cool. They're
Yeah.
happy to pay us a certain amount of money per month to go and get the job done.
Yeah.
That's cool too. We're in business, right? We're not going to say no.
I also feel like in my own situations and scenarios as well, like I felt like that, like the person hasn't wanted to be coached. But I will say it takes a lot of time like finessing the way that you're asking the questions, because I remember this model, it was like this conscious, unconscious model. I can't remember, but it basically is like you're aware that you're asking the question and like you're thinking about asking the question in a certain way. And for that reason, it then gets delivered in a particular way. Whereas like if you're so familiar with the route that you're trying to take them on and you've done it so many times, it comes out really naturally.
Yes. Yeah.
And so the delivery is everything in it
100%.
Because if you're thinking about what to say so much to the point like where it affects the delivery, then it's going to like the other person's going to feel that and it's going to create some resistance for them to feel like they'll probably feel like they're being led.
Yes.
Which is why they'll dislike it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that was a lesson I learned like
but
the hard way.
You kind of got to go through that to get to the point where you're asking it in a way that actually hits every time.
And it's got to come across as genuine. It's got to have the right conviction, not like
curiosity is everything.
Everything. And sometimes people are a bit scared of that curiosity that we have in calls or that we could have. As a person, I'm naturally curious when I'm asking all sorts of questions, right? But I vanguard that a lot now. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just curious about stuff. Like I'm, you know, why not?
I mean, typical Tasha conversation with someone she's just met is she'll ask something like no one would ask.
Like shoe size say, you?
By the way, like you don't have to answer if you don't want to. I'm just curious.
I do say that all the time. You don't have to answer. I'm just curious.
But I'm like really interested.
Yeah, and then people like are happy to tell you, right? Because these people like talking about themselves. Linda, you were talking about the hierarchy of competence before. Okay. So there's that unconscious competence, conscious competence, conscious incompetence, and unconscious incompetence.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, I've all met someone unconsciously incompetent.
Unconsciously incompetent.
Just like stupidly unaware. Do you know what I mean? Someone that just has no idea that they're an idiot.
There is just no way forward.
Oh man, those people. And then you've got like conscious incompetence. Like I'm aware that I'm incompetent on something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Conscious competence.
Yeah. And that's where you start, isn't it?
Yes.
Conscious incompetence.
Yes.
When you're trying to learn this. Like when we were getting coached on these principles, we were consciously incompetent.
I actually would argue and say we were unconsciously incompetent.
Yeah, maybe you start there actually.
Some of the stuff that we were taught,
at the beginning.
We had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. Like we didn't know how to be coaches.
True.
We had good like intuition.
Yeah.
And good energy.
So when you start out, you're there.
Yeah.
But then throughout the coaching program, when we started to implement this stuff, that's when we became consciously incompetent.
Yeah. And then I would say now we're at like a conscious competence level.
Yeah.
Maybe more competence to go. Yeah. There's levels to that, right?
I would say, the former,
And then there's unconscious competence. Like you're just so good.
Yeah. And that's like people that we talk about all the time, like
Chris Ma. Which is like unconsciously competent.
Our goals.
We'll be there one day. Just with like the way he communicates, the way he guides, his clients to having their own light bulb moments, like every time they're in a call.
Yeah.
Like if you're ever fortunate enough to be coached by him, you'll know what we mean. And it's just done so eloquently.
Yeah.
That like,
Yeah.
definitely goals. Anyway,
Yeah.
enough fangirling over Christmas. Make that a snippet. Anyway, okay, so that was Linda's example of someone that was unaware of why like a litmus testing for a blog article would be important. And then the bad example, the bad example you gave would be someone just talking at them.
Yeah, just telling versus questioning.
I have my own example, but I feel like we really made our point.
I like your one.
Okay, so obviously the stuff I coach and do a lot of,
because it's really relatable.
Okay. The stuff I coach and do a lot of work on is like customer journey mapping, right? So I'll have clients, if they are aware that they've got a shit customer journey map or there's a problem with their CRM, often they'll come to me and say, oh, we're missing leads, things are slipping through the cracks, our database is a mess. We need to solve this, right? And as opposed to me just a bad example of me just telling them would be like, okay, yeah, cool. Well, you need to create a Miro board with a customer journey map and have like 10 stages, change the colors of things and have manual steps, automated steps. Make sure you add in like 8 to 10 touch points, like just talking at them, right? There's so much shit you can talk about and stuff.
Yeah.
That would be a bad example.
Why?
Well, obviously they're not thinking about for themselves. Sometimes people do want that, which is like insane because every business is different ultimately. And like I have a process. We've been doing it so long now that if I don't allow the client to go through the process of understanding each stage and me questioning them about each stage and what they do at each stage and how they possibly could do it differently at each stage, they don't see the value in it. Number one, I would probably say they don't see the value in a customer journey map. And nothing is like intrinsically picked up on from their behalf. So they don't tend to resonate with it or keep it. Right? It goes out the window. It's not as valuable. So that's like a bad example of me obviously telling versus questioning. Yeah. And then questioning is essentially our kickoff sessions where we sit down for a few hours and we talk about each stage and we unpack each stage. And the line of questioning is different for each. It's different more or less the same for each client, but it goes along the lines of like, what's the issue if we don't follow up after one day?
Yeah.
What impact would it make if we didn't slip, these deals didn't slip through the cracks?
Yeah.
And then, what's the importance of making sure we have this customer journey mapped as the business grows and the team grows? So those 3 I's Linda mentioned before, issues, importance, impact, raising the stakes on it. I always do it at every single stage.
Yeah.
To make sure that the client, the sales director, the marketing director, everyone understands why this is important constantly.
In a workshop style, I don't want to speak out of turn here because you absolutely own the show here when it comes to this, but just thinking as well, like if it was a workshop style and the goal of the workshop was to build the Miro board and at least get started on half the customer journey mapping, get them to complete it.
Yep.
I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, a bad example of that would be you screen sharing, you going into Miro, asking them questions, but doing it yourself and then handing it over to them. As opposed to getting them to screen share, them to create the Miro board,
100%.
them to create all the labels and document the process as you're going through.
Yeah.
And that way at the end of the call, they've have it there.
They own it.
They own it.
That's it.
And they're ready to go to complete it.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up because I do it 2 ways, right? Depends on how you've paid us, I'll be honest. Because the ones that pay us more, I do it for them, right? Okay, that's what your more money will get you here. You'll get my time driving and doing the thing. Whereas if the coaching doesn't cost as much and I just coach you through it. And you're spot on. I've had clients that I'm coaching that'll be like, oh, Tasha, I'll send you the Miro link or add you onto it. I'm like, no, I don't need it. I will never go in it. I will never go in it. Yeah. You share your screen and I'll walk you through. I'm no Miro expert. I just know how to copy and paste the style, right? Like, I'll teach you that. But the main thing is no, spot really good example, Linda. I'll get them to drive. Whenever I do my coaching calls, I never screen share my computer.
Yeah.
Ever. And if they try and get me to do it for whatever reason, I'll be like, no. And I'm pretty direct with them. I'm like, guys, there's no point me sharing my screen and driving. I can do this with my eyes closed. You're the one that needs to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes clients need to be spoken to a little bit more like directly, if that makes sense. But let's, reference Kim Scott here. It's radical candor. I care for them. They've paid me money to make sure they learn how to do the thing. And I'm not going to beat around the bush.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, cool. Do you have more on that topic? Is
No,
that it?
I think that's it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
like
awesome.
short and sweet today.
Yeah, well, there's like two or three. There's three little, you've got little highlights in our show notes here that are actually really good little nuggets. So if you are listening and you want some like little takeaways or snippets, we call them sound bites here, right? Sound bites for something that you can use with your team or with your clients. This is a really good one. So client comes to you with a problem that they think they can help you solve, that you can help solve for them. A really nice one is, yeah, cool client, I have an idea. I have a few ideas, but I want to hear from you first.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good
And
one.
then stop.
I like that one. And you can also use that, like you can literally use it with anyone. You can use it with your teammates. You can use it with clients.
Husband,
Yeah.
3-year-old. What do you want for dinner? I've got some ideas, but I'd love to hear from you first.
Oh my God, yes. It's also a really good one if you actually don't know the answer because it buys you some time. And
quick Google search.
once they answer it, 100%. But they answer it, most likely they know the answer and they're just too scared to say it. So they give the right answer and you can literally just like, end it and say,
bingo.
Amazing, I was thinking the same thing, spot on.
And
they
then move
own
on
it
from
that.
They said it, right?
Yeah.
They're motivated because they came up with it. All you did was facilitated the discovery. I love that one.
Another one is by creating reinforcement at the end of the call.
Ooh, yeah.
So one thing that we love to say is like, what's one big takeaway you had from this call?
Yep.
And they'll say, oh, like now I feel like I understand the process and the next steps. So, what I'm going to do is, and they'll start to tell you all of the things that they now need to do.
Those are the actions. That's how you end up getting them doing what you want and you leaving a call with no actions.
Exactly. I feel like we need to end it there.
That was amazing. That was amazing. All right, Linda. I had so much fun talking about that with you.
Likewise.
We'll see you in a few weeks.
Bye.